Today we are talking with Todd and Ashley McCleneghan of Our Squad Abroad. Welcome to another episode of This Indulgent Life, where together wanderlusting families navigate respectful parenting, education, and fulfilling our dreams of having an extraordinary life through travel. We believe that life shouldn't just be an obligation, and that the American dream isn't the same for everyone. We believe that life should be an indulgence, so cherished and enjoyed. And the best way to do that is through enjoying experiences together and following our hearts. May you be inspired to do the same. Before we meet them, I want to remind you to check out the show notes. That's where I'm going to put all of the links that we talk about. You can see pictures of them, and of course the link to their Instagram account. And I'm also going to be putting all of the giveaway details there, so be sure to check it out. Right now the giveaway just keeps growing, and we are looking at books for you, books for the kids, maybe even a language session where you can learn some Spanish. So be sure to check it out. Remember, the show notes can be found at thisindulgentlife.com/7. And make sure you join our Facebook community. Again, you can find all the information you need in the show notes, or just search for This Indulgent Life in groups, and you should be able to find it. But I really do want to talk with you guys and connect with you and hear your dreams, your passions, and what adventures you are taking either in your own backyard or around the world. So make sure you join. Todd and Ashley are the fearless leaders, aka mom and dad, of the Instagram account Our Squad Abroad. They are currently chronicling their full-time adventures around the world with their young family. They have 4 kids. Yes, you heard that right. 4 kids. You have Eli 9, Ben 7, Tatum 5, and Max, who is 2. They love adventure and seeking out all things beautiful in this amazing world. Their travel life isn't perfect. They probably should plan a little bit more. And the beds are usually hard, but they're doing it. They are living their big, wild, crazy dream, and hopefully inspiring other families to do the same, whatever those dreams look like. We will be covering what it's like traveling as a large family, how they decide where they're going to go, and how long they're going to stay in a particular place. We'll also be covering what it's like traveling with a toddler or small children in general, and how that works in order for you to still have the adventures that you want to have, like snorkeling and scuba diving. And of course, we will just be learning all about their brilliant family and their adventures. There's so much to hear, and I cannot wait for you to meet this family. So let's now welcome Todd and Ashley McCleneghan of Our Squad Abroad. So welcome to Todd and Ashley McCleneghan from Our Squad Abroad. Thank you so much for joining us. I know you guys are in South Korea right now, and so it's actually later for you than it is for me. So I really appreciate you guys making this time to do that, because I know you're probably tired chasing your kids all day long.
No, thank you. We're glad that we could make it work. This is exciting for us too.
Late nights are only time the kids are sleeping. There's calmness.
Yeah, this is our money time.
And for those who are listening or watching, just to, I guess, put a little disclaimer in there. My kid is usually sleeping, but he decided tonight not to. So if you hear him at any point in time, I apologize. But hey, that's the nature of being parents, right? We do our best, and that's all we can do.
Right.
All right, so Todd and Ashley, could you guys just tell us a little bit about who you are, like how old your kids are, and how you got started with travel? Like, what created the travel bug?
So we're Todd and Ashley. We've got four little kids. So our oldest Eli is 9, and then Ben's is 7. And then our little girl actually just turned 5 today. So we celebrated her birthday today. And then our baby's 2. So they're all still pretty young. And we've always kind of loved traveling. Depending on sort of our phase of life, it looked different just because, when you're in college, you've got no money to travel. And so it was, different, looked different. But we've definitely prioritized over the last few years traveling kind of more, both as a couple and with our kids, and making them a part of it as well. But this trip kind of specifically, how we kind of started off.
Oh, it just kind of everything snowballed to work perfectly for us to go out and do this with work. Things just all lined up. I'm a dentist, and I have a large dental practice that I have, and one night I got a phone call from a dentist looking for a job, and I had 4 other dentists in there, and so we thought, well, with the new dentist going in, it could kind of push me out for a little bit, and which was okay. So with him coming in, it allowed us to free up some time and allowed us to do this. We also thought our kids are at a kind of perfect age where our oldest he was 8. He wasn't too involved. He's involved in lots of sports, but it wasn't a full-time commitment at this point, which it will get to at some point. But so it was an opportunity for us to take them out of school and do some homeschooling, to take them out of their sports, and they can kind of catch up when they get back. And everything just worked out perfectly to make it happen.
Yeah. I think it's kind of important to know too, like, we're kind of ideas people. Like, I think often, I don't know, we just have like big ideas. But when this all first started kind of unfolding, we thought, well, why don't maybe we just go live in Hawaii for the winter, or go somewhere, go do something, I don't know, just not necessarily smaller, but just go to one spot for the whole time. And then we got talking like, well, if we're going to go to Hawaii, maybe we should go to Australia too. Well, and if we're going to go to Australia, that's right next to New Zealand, so we should probably go to New Zealand too. And so what kind of started out as, why don't we just like rent a little place, go to Hawaii for a few months through the winter, very quickly turned into this kind of big world adventure for our family, which has been really exciting.
When you're there, you just might as well, right?
That was really, as I look back on kind of our planning process, it really was just this kind of snowball. Like, well, why not? Well, why not? Like, if we're there, then why not go one more spot, and why not?
So initially this started as just a few months, and now it's been, 9 months? Is that what you said?
In total, it will be 9 months. We're at about month. Okay. Yeah, we're about 6.5 months in right now. So we've been going since the beginning of October.
Yeah.
Okay. And then 9 months is just when you need to get back to being a dentist again, or is there...
No, not... Well, a little bit of me being a dentist, but I have a conference specifically the first weekend in June. So I have to be back for that, and Ashley's coming to the conference.
We have to renew some kids' passports, and so we know that we'll
take care of all those things.
So we'll be back in Canada for a little while, kind of in June, and then we spend a lot of time in Montana in the summer, so we'll be down there quite a bit, and then
kind of regroup and kind of see what we want to do from there.
Yeah, that's as far as we have planned. Well, actually, we only have hotels planned till next week, so that's really as far as we have planned.
And you guys are in South Korea right now, right?
So we just got to Japan.
Yeah,
we just got to Japan. Okay.
Yeah.
So we finished South Korea and we loved it.
It was amazing.
And so now we're in Japan.
Yeah.
What was like your favorite thing about South Korea?
So I loved the food was amazing, and so that was definitely a highlight. It seemed like everything we ate was kind of awesome.
It was amazing, and
there's just lots of variety and stuff that we've never tried before. But I think one of the best things about South Korea is the people there. They're really, really friendly, and they seem to love our family, and we'd have people, when we first got off the airplane, we got through customs. The first person we saw, he came up to the kids and he had a handful of candy. And, we usually just don't get candy from fingers, but, our kids are...
It's really hard not to here, yes.
So, giving them candies and the language, there was a little bit of a barrier. Not everyone spoke English, and obviously we don't speak the best or any Korean.
We know food in Korean, and that's about it.
Hey, that's something. At least you can eat.
Yeah.
But everyone was so helpful. Like, you'd go to a restaurant and you didn't know what to order, but they would, with big smiles, help you out and help with the kids, grab things for the kids and help with strollers. And they were just a really, really friendly people. Yeah. And so that made being there just really enjoyable. Mm-hmm. And the food obviously was really enjoyable. And just the transit there and the things that we saw. Yeah. South Korea is definitely one of my favorite places that I've ever been to, for sure.
Yeah, it's just a very like an easy city to travel in. Like, it's, and I don't know, we had talked to, like, I don't know if maybe it was because they hosted the Olympics last year, and so they really worked at facilitating that because we knew they'd have such an influx of tourists. But the transit system is really easy to navigate, and it's really well kind of laid out to get to some of the bigger kind of cultural spots as sort of tourist destinations. That was all really accessible. Lots of opportunities to learn about the culture and things like that, which is really important to us traveling. So yeah, just sort of the ease. Like, it was just this seamless time while we were there. Like, it wasn't. And maybe we just got lucky.
Yeah, because it's like the opposite of what I normally hear. But I mean, when I'm talking to people, I'm usually talking to expats. Like, I know a lot of my fellow expat teachers who have taught there, and that is not what they normally say. They're usually telling me, like, you would not make it there.
Oh, that's funny.
But
we've talked to a few people who have, like us, just traveled as with families, and they've all, just for short amounts of time, loved it and put it at one of their top.
It was this place where it was almost like an afterthought adding it to our list. Like, it wasn't just this obvious destination where we had to go see it. But I was super impressed and blown away. Yeah. Very pleasantly. And maybe that was part of it, is that I really had no expectations of what I would see when I was there, what I would experience. So everything was just exciting and refreshing and great.
Well, looking at your Instagram, it looked like you guys had a lot of amazing experiences there. Like, what was that? My kid has my phone, so I can't. Like, they were, wasn't there like a sword or something that they were looking at one point, and they were dressed up and. Yeah.
There's a couple different places where we just totally got to, like, immerse ourselves in Korean culture. So there's a palace where they got to dress up as guards, and they got to kind of do that
guard training. So they do like archery training. They got to do with shields, spears. Training.
It was incredibly well done.
And they could even make bows and bow and arrows. They got to play musical instruments, traditional ones, and the teacher there. For all of them, they were just so kind and so nice to the kids. It was
really great.
Yeah,
it was
that kids love that.
Oh, they still talk about it. Like, my son, like Eli, wants to do some percussion stuff because of the.
Yeah, they want to go home and take percussion lessons because of our time. That was all at it's like a traditional Hanok village, like an old Korean village. They have all the old houses, and it was free to go into the village. And then if you wanted to participate in any of the other activities, there was a small fee, but it was very reasonable. Like, I didn't find, everyone told us Korea was going to be so expensive because we'd been coming from Southeast Asia. And it was a little bit more than Southeast Asia, but I was pleasantly surprised at kind of the cost, especially because we travel with so many. But
yeah.
It adds up quickly.
So one of the other things, you guys were just talking about, like, the amazing food and being able to order the food there. I'm going to go ahead and skip to that.
Okay.
So I know that you guys are big foodies, and I see on Instagram, like, your kids even seem to be following suit. Like, I think it was your 5-year-old? I can't remember. I couldn't remember. But one of them was like, it looked like a waffle with like jam and things inside, or something inside, and their eyes are just like
big eyes. Yeah.
Oh. And so they seem to be following suit. They seem to be following your modeling as. But what about Max, your toddler? Because I know for my toddler, because my son is the same age, he sometimes, like, he seems to be getting pickier.
Right.
Now, less so when we're out, but I think because he actually likes Cantonese food better than Western food. So maybe that's part of it. I don't know. But how do you, like, is Max like a typical toddler? How do you handle that when you're experiencing such, or even your 9-year-old, right? Like those are some bizarre foods sometimes. How do they handle that?
I don't know. It's just that
I would say like before the trip, our kids were pretty typical. Like they ate primarily like whatever a Western diet kind of looks like.
Carbs galore.
They probably had their fair share of mac and cheese, and but I think too, like, we eat out a lot traveling, and so they've kind of gotten used to that a lot more. Like we eat out so much more traveling than we do kind of back home when we're in normal life. But sorry, I keep looking to the left because they're all sleeping right there on the nest bed. I need to look at you.
No, you check if you got to check.
Yeah, we I think because we get so excited about trying new food, they just think that you're supposed to get excited about trying new food, and they don't like everything, but we don't necessarily like everything that we try, but that's just sort of kind of, we've gotten used to that. How we travel, we walk past a food cart, and if it's selling something we've never had and it looks good, then we give it a shot. But there's lots of times where,
and I think it's a lot like I'll try everything. Like
I'm not as brave as him.
We're the same.
Yeah, but even if Ashley doesn't try it, she doesn't say that to the kids. She's not like, I do not get that even near me. I don't want to even smell it. And so
they probably think I taste everything.
I really do. I think anything that I eat, they're thinking Ashley's eating, and they're gonna just have to follow suit. And so I think that's a big thing, is just not discouraging them by putting your own personal idea of if the food is good or not.
And I think that's true. Like, right, that's true of so many things. Like, how many times, I mean, even as a teacher, like we have a camp, it's called camp, but it's like these dorms. And if an adult sees a bug or a lizard or something, which, I mean, we're in Hong Kong, they're all over the place. They're like, ah! And of course it's going to make the kids do the same thing, right? Like, we can't expect the kids to want to try new things or to be calm in these kinds of situations when us as adults are not trying new things or being calm in the situation. So I think that's...
But with that being said, we have had, our fair share of restaurants where somebody just ate white rice because they tried everything and didn't like anything. And so, I mean, that's not everywhere, but they sell plain noodles and white rice everywhere. So, and no one's starving. If they don't, we try to not go somewhere else for some. Like, if someone doesn't like what we're having, we think we're pretty good about, well, this is the meal, and so we'll, get them rice or get them a plain noodle or something. But
there's something.
No one's going hungry, and they're hopefully trying a bit of everything.
Tatum, our 5-year-old girl, her favorite food is mee goreng, and that's what she calls it. Back home it was fried rice, but now her favorite food is mee goreng.
Mee goreng.
Now it's considered something special and exotic.
Oh, is it nasi goreng?
Nasi goreng. Mee goreng's noodles.
Mee goreng's a noodle, yeah. So
nasi goreng. She goes in.
She's gonna go back home and be like, well, I want some. And then they're gonna be like, what?
Yeah.
Well, all the kids talk about that. They have food that they kind of remember from different places, that they want to go home, and we have a running list of things we want to learn to make when we get back there. And so it's fun. It's fun for them because we're traveling so quickly that they're getting to try lots of different things.
Yeah. So what has been the best and the worst local foods you guys have tried?
Best and worst.
Putting you on the spot.
So one of
Oh, go ahead.
so one of my like all-time favorites, like it's at the top of the list. I want to go home and like lock myself in the kitchen and learn how to make it. In New Zealand, not New Zealand, in Tasmania, Australia. So we flew down to Tasmania for a few days. Their produce and their dairy are beyond amazing. Like, I don't know what is in the ground there or what is in the rain there, but it is amazing. And they sell, it was like fresh baked scones with homemade jam, and they do a lot of coddled cream. And coddled cream isn't something we have access to in Canada typically. Like, you have to, but I guess in the UK it's a lot more common. And it's just delicious. Like, it's way better than whipped cream, but I would maybe put it in that category a little bit. But that's pretty high on my list.
Yeah, that was really good.
And in Indonesia, I loved like the fried rice and the fried noodles. Like, just the flavor was so good there. And I'm a carb lover, so that was like right up my alley.
I think
What was your favorite?
Korea was awesome. They had this fun, like, all
It was
this
lots of
barbecue.
meat.
Yeah,
Korea did a lot more meat than some of the other countries we had visited, just because I think they were some less developed countries.
Yeah.
And so our meat lover was really excited
Yeah,
to
so
see
I was
a
gonna
lot
say
of
that would be more me.
yeah. But they had this one where it was like, so they have a lot of Korea. They cook at the table, so
Yeah, the
it's
hot pot,
cooking
yeah.
while you're visiting and hot pot stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they had the one that was a ring around this big cast iron dish.
Oh,
and,
that was amazing.
and they came and they put loads of cheese in it.
Chicken galbi.
Oh,
And the chicken that was cooking, and then you take the chicken and you dip it in. It's kind of like a fondue. And it was
nice.
so good.
I think it was called chicken galbi.
Chicken galbi, yeah.
Something like that.
So good.
That was
So I really
really
like
delicious.
that. The worst. You know what? I didn't love food in Hong Kong.
Really?
Just yeah.
Yeah.
That was
It was pretty fishy.
yeah.
It's
just super
very fishy. Yes.
And so
And we're totally from like, we're like from the Texas of Canada,
Yes.
where it's like beef and chicken.
Yeah.
Like, those
Yep.
are the two protein groups.
yeah. So when they're
And those are like, like it's hard to. It's been hard living here because we're the same. And I'm to be healthy, I need to eat low carb, and that has been very difficult here. There's tons of fruits. The fruit selection here is huge, but the vegetable selection and the meat selection, not so much.
we're the same. Typically, our diet is different on vacation, it seems, than when we're back home. We eat a lot more vegetables, lower carbs, for sure. So, like, just lots of protein, lots of veggies.
But there has been some few spots where it's been just hard to find,
it, yeah.
you know, fresh vegetables and
the
stuff.
only
It's just
veggies
not
you're
as
getting is
accessible.
In fried rice, they throw a little celery in it, and
Some cabbage. Had a lot of cabbage.
Or what happened, I remember one of the first restaurants we went to when we moved here, it was a bowl of rice, and then it had like 6 pieces of, I think it was pork, and they were like the size of a quarter. Like, I don't think most people understand the size of a quarter. Like, it was so tiny, and then it was mostly bone. Like,
right?
I'm like, how do you expect me to live on this?
Right.
I'm gonna melt away here.
I do, though. I'll give them credit. I appreciate how little waste there is when eating animal product. That's something I've really realized, is how much we really waste. Like, there's things on the menu that in Asia that I would never consider keeping or eating in North America. Like, I would have just, you know, the giblets, like, you make some gravy and then you throw them away. Like, you would never pay money to eat those. But it's kind of refreshing. It's refreshing that they kind of respect the animal and eat the whole thing.
I remember when my kid was, we did baby-led weaning, and when he was, I think, 10 months old, my helper had cooked fish and gave some. I'm not a huge fish person, but my husband ate some, and then of course my son. and the fish head was there, and he just like grabbed it and just like started gnawing on the fish head, like like no problem whatsoever. And like he'll go, there's these tubes, these plastic tubes of mush, it's shrimp paste, and like some like shrimp thing, and he just sucks on it like no problem,
like, and liking it.
Yes, he's totally a Hong Kong kid. He has no clue he's not Chinese. Not a clue.
That's actually a funny story. So Max, our 2-year-old, he his like our other kids spoke pretty early. Like Tatum, our little girl who's just older than Max, she was really early, and she's got quite a good grasp on language and she's got a very good vocabulary. But I think it's like she doesn't let Max talk. Like when someone
she talks.
Yeah. So that we're doing introductions, and she's like, "I'm Tatum. I'm 5. I'm 4. Now she's 5." And then they say, "Okay, who's this?" And she's like, "Well, this is Max. He's 2." And
like he'll look to her to speak for him. Yeah. Like, someone's talking to me, big sister. Can you deal with this?
So
so he does not speak that much.
So he doesn't speak that. But we learn, in each country, we try and pick up a few words that we'll say thank you, hello, and
just some greeting, some
basic,
politeness kind of thing.
Yeah. So he has actually learned some of those languages better than. So he'll say like, hello used to be like bula, which is in Fiji. That's hello. So he'll be like bula. That's his hello. But he
doesn't say hello. He'll say bula.
He'll say bula, or like kap kun kap, which is
it's thank you.
Thank you
in Thai.
Aww.
Kap kun kap. But he doesn't say thank you.
Maybe it's more like the alien language that they like to speak, right? Like 2-year-olds like to speak in their alien language, so that kind of is closer to.
We're gonna do that.
We thought that was funny. We're like, geez, this kid doesn't speak English, but he'll use
he's multilingual. Just none of them are English.
That's okay. The other kids have English. He can catch everything else.
Right? Yeah, it'll come.
Well, and that's something we've had to kind of be patient with as well, because technically my kid here every day, or at least he used to hear Bisaya, which is a southern Philippines dialect. Sometimes he'll hear Tagalog from the other Filipinos. And then he'll hear Cantonese, and I'm sure when he's out and about here, he hears Mandarin, and then of course there's English. And all I know is English. So, like, we don't always know if he's saying something, and I just don't know what it is. You just never know. Funny. But he totally, like, the old people here will just speak to him, and he does what they say. Whatever that is, like, he just does things for them. So he's understanding for sure, but
that's awesome.
Way better than mommy. Mommy's really, really bad.
It's such a cool experience, kind of getting to grow up in a different culture, like it'll be pretty special for him.
Yeah. We're leaving in July. But I hope that he will always, like, in his heart know, right? Like,
he may not have memories of it, but he'll have learning experiences that will form who he is, I guess.
And I'm hoping all the languages have like opened that part of his brain so that as he gets older that he can learn it better. So, and we plan on keeping in contact with both the helpers that we've had, so hopefully they can continue to speak Bisaya.
That's great.
Awesome.
So so you've gone to Fiji, you've gone to Tasmania, and Australia, and New Zealand, South Korea, now you're in Japan, you've been to Hong Kong. Where else have you guys gone? Because you guys seem to be doing a whirlwind.
Yeah, Singapore, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia.
Yeah.
I think that's
sort of it.
Yeah.
Australia and New Zealand were definitely longer stops for us. We did a month in New Zealand in a motorhome. So all 6 of us in a camper van for 4 weeks.
And those ones are smaller, right? Like, I hear the ones in Australia are much smaller than the U.S.
Yeah, we literally had to rent the biggest one available to rent. Like it was just to accommodate our family. So we did that. And then in New Zealand, we bought a car and sold it at the end. And we did kind of a road trip. So we flew into Cairns up the Great Barrier Reef and then drove all the way down to Melbourne. So we sort of saw that whole coast area there.
Did you guys swim in the Great Barrier Reef
months.
area? Did you guys?
We did, yeah.
We swam.
That's a bucket list.
Scuba dived.
It is, yeah.
Snorkeled.
Yeah, we spent a few days out there.
All areas of sailed.
Yeah, we went sailing. Yeah, it was it's a pretty incredible little piece of the world.
So how do you guys manage to do these kind of bucket list activities, these adventures, like even snorkeling with a 2-year-old, right? Like, how do you do these kinds of things while having very young children?
Well, again, it's kind of like with the food stuff, where if we figure if we're doing it, then the whole family's going to do it, and they kind of just jump in and do it. So like with Max, our 2-year-old, we gave him a mask and snorkels and even some fins. He found out quickly that he couldn't walk with fins, so and then he found out very quickly that he would swallow a lot of water with the snorkel, but he would just life jacket, and he was on our back, and we'd be snorkeling, and sometimes I'd want to go down to the bottom, and so I'd kind of put him aside, and he's comfortable with the life jacket just hanging out in the water, so I'd go under and pop back up.
We've snorkeled like that in a few different places on the trip, and so typically, like, we're both really strong swimmers. We scuba dive, and so snorkeling, we may not wear a life jacket. Like, we would just kind of swim around. But if I was going out with my toddler, I would wear a life jacket. And then I almost I'm floating like I'm scuba diving. And then he sits on my back like I'm a inner tube kind of thing. And so he's just sitting there kicking around playing, and I'm swimming around snorkeling. And so you don't really swim aggressively when you're snorkeling. So I can kind of hold on to his legs, and he just sits and plays and thinks it's great cooling off in the water. But I still get to experience kind of seeing the fish
That's a great idea.
And so our 5-year-old, she just doesn't last very long snorkeling because she's just kind of getting used to, getting salt water in her mask, and it's just by herself. Yeah. And so she'll kind of look around for a little bit next to me, and then she'll kind of get just have had enough for a bit, and so she'll sit on my back for a little bit, and then she'll, I see a cool fish, and so I tell her, and she looks in. But the younger two, snorkeling often looks like them sort of just sitting on our backs, but as long as I'm wearing a life jacket too, I can kind of hold them up pretty easily. So,
and then the 2 oldest, they're
just, pretty good. They
swim around on their own, and we bought our oldest a snorkel and mask for his birthday. So
he loves that.
And so in the pool, because when we are in like these hot places, most places will have pools. Yeah, and so the kids love just putting their masks on, swimming around, practicing. So Tatum, when she learned how to swim, she was 4. Max
can almost swim on his own.
Like he can swim. Like our 2-year-old, he'll swim. He'll take a breath. He'll put his face back under, take a breath. So he can do about 3 breaths, and then we kind of grab him. So he's really close to being able to just kind of.
Is he an older 2 or a younger 2?
August.
Okay, so he's
about 2.5. Yeah.
Did you guys do swimming lessons with him from the baby, or?
He hasn't done swimming lessons, but Australia is just water world. So he just swam lots, and I think too, it's tough to compare because he's a 4th kid, so he's not like an oldest where he's kind of the first kid in his family to do it. He's keeping up or trying to keep up with a 5, 7, and 9-year-old all the time. And he thinks he's, 7 or 8. Like that's where he thinks he is. So he tries to do everything kind of that the big kids did. So I think he pushes himself physically more, just because of that birth order. It just sort of affects.
Because my husband and I, we are water babies. We love the water. My husband, he brought all of his scuba gear to Hong Kong in hopes that he could use it more than he has. But That's something that we would pray. We'd be like, okay, God, we really want to make sure that this baby is a water baby. He needs to love the water like us. But we just haven't had the opportunities as much here. The water isn't very clear. But we love to snorkel and things like that. And so I love that idea for when we move back, we will have more opportunities. And I'm going to try that, the life jacket with him on my back type thing.
Yeah.
And then I think it's just about being time in the pool, time in the ocean.
Yeah.
The more time that they spend in it, the more they'll like it, and the more comfortable they get, and the more comfortable they get, the more they like it. It's just this cycle. Yeah. So our kids are dying to get back in the pool.
We've been a few countries that were colder and just not like beach kind of friendly spots, so they're dying to go swimming.
They're like, go back down south. So that brings me, I guess, to how are you deciding where to go next and how long to stay in a particular place?
Well, there's a few things. Like here in Japan right now, it's the cherry blossom season. So that was a really big deciding factor on coming here at this certain kind of couple week period. And so that's why we had to throw in Korea. It wasn't originally on the list, but we put Korea in as a bit of a buffer, but we ended up loving it. And,
we had some time to fill before the cherry blossoms were blooming here.
So there's some places that we picked based on events that are happening or weather. Like New Zealand, we picked for it was just getting into the busy season, so it's still the shoulder season, so it wasn't as busy. The temperatures were pretty good still. For the most part, it was warm. There was some cold spells that would come in, but
a lot of it's like proximity and cost too. Like, we had our big, we knew we wanted to do New Zealand and Australia. And then just sort of based on, cost and proximity, going up to Asia next was sort of a natural, transition. You can get to Indonesia really cost effectively. Singapore and Hong Kong are really big kind of flight hubs. And just coming from North America, we really it was sort of mind blowing how inexpensive air travel is within Southeast Asia. Like just for how many people are in our family, we were able to jump around a lot in that area, and so that was a big factor. And so now we've kind of seen, there's so much of Asia we haven't even touched, but we've kind of got a taste of a few different areas, and we're looking to head west a little bit. And it's definitely, that's going to be a rude awakening as kind of the cost of travel as we leave.
Well, but I think once
we leave Asia,
Europe,
once we get over there, it'll be a little bit better.
But I think this will shock a lot of people, but we don't plan that far ahead.
No,
because we're trying to survive today and figuring out what we're going to do today, and try and keep our kids alive, feeding them, and obviously
there's just a lot of logistics to plan. Like when you think about when you're in sort of a more traditional life setting and you're going to plan a 2-week trip somewhere, you spend hours researching that trip, right? Looking into the best hotels and the best areas and all the best activities, and hundreds of hours you probably spent in preparation for that. And we're just in constant travel mode, so we just don't have that time, and so we really can't, be planning that far.
So there's been some days that we don't have a hotel or Airbnb until the day of. So we're flying,
usually we're a couple of days.
We're flying to a country,
and
we don't have a place to stay yet.
I think I've only done that twice, and that's nerve-wracking. And that was just me and my husband, so that would be nerve-wracking.
But you know what? We always know that we're going to be able to get something, and at the end of the day, literally, at the end of that day, we know we're going to have a place to sleep, and in a good area and stuff like that. So it's not. So a lot of people, when they hear that, they're like, "Oh my gosh, that would stress me out so bad." But really, we can't. There's no way we could book what we're doing today. All the things that Ashley talked about on planning, the planning, being in the moment now, and having those things booked far in advance. There's so much logistics. So
I think too, like we kind of change what we want to do. I don't know how to describe. Like
you get to a country, let's say Korea, and when you get there, you talk to someone or you go past something like, okay, that looks awesome. We got to do that.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, like everything's changed because you know if you have Monday you're going to do this, Tuesday this, Wednesday this, throw that out the window because now you have to do these new things. And you know sometimes you kind of get a read for your kids and you're like, okay, we got to slow down a little bit. We need to just play at this park for an extra 2 hours of just running around, or we need to you know just be at home a little bit earlier to let them kind of unwind at home and have a good sleep, things like that. So changing of plans happens on a daily basis.
I think we found too, like, there's so many unknowns when you're traveling long term. Like, you don't even know the unknowns until they come. Like, that's something, I don't know, you don't know what you don't know, whatever that expression is. And we've run into that a lot. You know, we thought we were going to want to spend so much time in this country and so much time in that country. And, you know, we had done Southeast Asia for a long time, and there was a bit of like a heat wave going on when we were there. We were really, really hot, and we were kind of like, I don't know, we kind of got to a point where we were just tired of sweating all the time. Because we're a super active family. We're always hiking and exploring, and we didn't really want to stop doing that. And so we're like, well, you know, maybe let's stay in a couple of these next places a little bit less so that we get up to Hong Kong and South Korea a little bit quicker so we can, you know, cool down a little bit. So that, I don't know, not planning as far out gives us a lot of flexibility, just to sort of feel kind of how our family's doing. So, which is nice.
That sounds
definitely stressful, but
yeah, it's definitely.
But maybe if you expect that, it's not so bad, right? Like if you go into it knowing
you're gonna have to book a hotel anyways, might as well do the day of.
No, I would do a couple of days. Right now, we were saying that today. We have the next kind of week and a half booked, and it's like kind of calming. It's like sort of nice. Like I know where we're gonna sleep for the next. I know which places will have a washer and dryer, and which ones we won't. And
So are you guys doing just hotels or hotels and Airbnbs?
We do a little of both. Yeah. So if we're going to do a day or two in a city, we typically will do a hotel because you avoid all the cleaning fees and things like that with Airbnbs. And we also have to look at, are we needing to do laundry and stuff like that, because most Airbnbs will have some kind of laundry. So yeah, it's definitely a mixture. And then we also just look at cost and what's available. And with our situation, there's 6 of us that we have to sleep, and so sometimes it's hard to find a hotel room that has, you know, adjoining bedrooms and stuff like that. So
we kind of just get different cities just have different availabilities, different, you know, when we were in Southeast Asia, it was pretty easy to get a hotel that was more of like a villa or like a suite where there was a couple bedrooms and it was super cost effective. But, you know, then when we got up to, you know, Hong Kong where you're at, hotel rooms that accommodate 6 people are not very, very common. Even Airbnbs that accommodate 6 people aren't. Yeah, Hong Kong might have been.
It's shoebox.
People's walk-in closets are better than our.
It was really little, but it had.
I laugh because. Okay, you did not stay in Chungking Mansions, right? Please tell me you didn't go to Chungking Mansions.
No.
Someone said to do that.
They were snug. Hong Kong was pretty snug, but it kind of served the purpose, and I think it was sort of, I don't know. It's nice for our kids to not struggle, but to know that you can just do it. Like you can be accommodating, and you can share a bed with your sibling, and you can. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think they learned some good life lessons because sometimes it's uncomfortable.
And just seeing how people, because when we went into the house, we said, this is a family's house that we're staying in, so we have to be respectful of their things. And they're like, a family lives in here? I'm like, yeah, like probably like a mom and a dad, a grandma and a grandpa. And, so, yeah. So,
Sorry, he's like, what is on your head? For those listening, my toddler has just come out and joined me on my lap. You find this very funny. All right, so speaking to that, I know that especially with travel packages and hotels and things like that, everything seems to be geared towards this like perfect family size of 2 adults and 2 children. How do you navigate not having that ideal size family everyone seems to think is what we should have?
It's true because we definitely, when we were in Hong Kong, they don't really have bigger taxis and things like that. So when we got out of the fast train from the airport, we had to take 2 taxis back to to find our Airbnb. And going to restaurants, it's not just finding this little booth to tuck into. Where there's 6 of us, so it takes a lot of time for the waiters and waitresses to get stuff settled for us. So, but how do we navigate?
I think we'll probably have to be a little bit more creative and recognize that we have to, I don't know, kind of find some of those solutions on our own. Like it's not going to be our vacation packages or our kind of scheduling won't be maybe as cookie cutter as some other.
Like tonight, we went to go get dinner, and we had a type of food that we knew we wanted to go get, and we went to a couple of the restaurants, and they're so busy. To accommodate 6 people was very tough, so we just ended up get some. We just did some street food. And that it was kind of takeaway, and you just kind of have to make it work. We're not gonna sit back and say, "Dang it, we didn't get that food." The night's ruined. We just had fun somewhere else and just make it work.
I think too. One of the perks of having 4 kids is we had to stop being uptight years ago. So we really had to. I don't know, any of that sort of type A parenting that we had, we really had to kind of let that take a back seat, by kid 3 for sure. And so I think we, just in terms of how we parent and how we live, we're just very kind of go with the flow type people. We're really relaxed. We're adaptable. We're kind of open to trying different things. And, if the plan doesn't work, then we just do a different plan. Like it's, and I think traveling long term, you kind of have to have a bit of that mindset because stuff's just gonna happen like that. One thing though that was nice is, we did it in all the country. There's a few different countries in Southeast Asia where we did it quite a bit, but we couldn't really do the big tours like the buses and all those kinds of things that take you to tourist spots, just because by the time you've paid. Lots of them are, $100 a person for the day or whatever. It gets really expensive to take 6 people on those types of things. But we do really value kind of local knowledge and really learning. It's a totally different experience to just show up at, a temple in Indonesia or show up or go with somebody and actually have them tell you about the place and tell you about the things that happen there. And
so we did that once in Indonesia. We went to these temples and we didn't learn anything about it. We're like, well, why do they do this, and why is this like this? And we just came out thinking we just went to it and saw it and that's it. So the next day.
Yeah. So what we ended up doing that works really good when you have a bigger family or even just sort of kids in general is we hired a driver for the day.
And they do this all over.
It's Southeast way Asia. More coming from North America. You're like, whoa, high roller. Like you hired a driver for the day. But it really is a super cost effective option. To be honest, I think it was significantly cheaper than
for Indonesia, in Bali. It cost us $75 Canadian, which would be like $60 American for 10 hours. And that included the driver who spoke English and would take us on the tours. Included the gas and the vehicle.
For the whole
and
day.
do whatever
really
we want.
Good.
Yeah. So for $60, it's like you could rent a car, but again, you're not gonna, you're gonna pay probably the same amount and with gas. So plus
and
you
for
get
those,
the
sorry. And for those who are listening who aren't familiar, and you're thinking, but do they provide a car seat and stuff like that? Car seats are not normal on this side of the world. So you don't, it's like even in Hong Kong, which is a metropolitan city, you do not have to have a car seat. So yes, there's a risk, but it's kind of like that's all you got. So you do what you can, and you don't really worry about that as much. You just hold on tight or put them in a carrier.
We left our at
in
the
Australia.
Australian airport. We just left them. And
one thing too is they drive in some of those more rural areas. They drive a lot slower too. Like it's not, big freeway driving that we're thinking of back in North America. It's smaller, like traffic's just moving slower. So for sure,
infrastructure is just not as good.
Yeah,
so,
you're driving on dirt roads. You can only go so fast on a dirt road.
But it's true, yeah. A lot of people
really
have asked us that, like, well, what
where's your
car
seat?
Where are the car seats? And,
we do our best. That's sort of when they're available, we use them, and if they're not available, they're not available.
I mean, when we had our own car, we used one because it was our own car, but now that we don't have one, I mean, we're just on buses and things, and you just do what you can. So, Kid is trying to get more change here. Have more change.
He knows where it's at.
So this is good. He's like, Mom's kind of preoccupied. I can get as much money as I want.
So, he's kind of here perfectly, and going along with that and being laid back. How do you deal with naps while you're traveling? Because I don't know, maybe my kid just really likes his schedule. But for example, today we went out and we're like, okay, by the time we get on a bus back, he'll be taking a nap and that will be fine. But ended up being longer. Mm-hmm. And sometimes my kid doesn't he doesn't like to nap when we're out because he's such a busybody. So how do you guys handle? Because if they don't nap, right, like that can just be detrimental to the rest of your day.
Oh.
That's right.
Everyone's life is better when the toddler naps. 100%. I'm a big
what are you
napper. So I think before we left, all our kids are really good sleepers. Like I think that's something. I'm not a very good mom when I'm tired, and so helping them become some good sleepers is always a big priority for us. But even when we were home, like our like Max would nap, right? Like he had a fairly set nap time. He would nap then. He'd go to his crib, and that was really good. But right from the get-go, our life was just less predictable, and so it probably took a little while. He's a pretty good car sleeper, which I think helped. Kind of in New Zealand and Australia when we were driving around so much, he'd fall asleep in the car. But he just kind of had to learn to sleep wherever. And so he doesn't, we do a ton of walking. We always have the stroller with us. And so most days he just falls asleep. He has to fall asleep in the stroller. And so we try to like plan a long walk or a slightly less stimulating activity so that he hopefully falls asleep in the stroller.
But to be honest, it doesn't always happen. Like just like you, where you're hoping he falls asleep on the bus ride. And sometimes it happens at the worst time. All of a sudden they're asleep, and you're like, "Dang it! This is like we needed them out of the stroller and doing this thing." And so now one of us has to and we don't wake him up. We'll have one of us stick behind, but then there's days that it just doesn't happen, and it's we wish he fell asleep. I think more for our sanity. But,
yes.
And his too. He's happier. Yeah, he's happier when he gets enough sleep.
We feel bad for him because he's getting the short end of the stick. He won't have any memories of this, and he's the one getting kind of dragged around. He's like, where the heck's my mid-afternoon sleep that I used to have?
Right. I used to have
this black room and
cozy life. But
so I've got a few last questions that I ask everybody. Is there anything else you want to kind of add in before that?
Trying to think any good life-changing life-changing advice.
And
You did.
I think just do it. Like if you're gonna do it, just don't be scared. Don't be scared of the unknown, because it's you're never gonna know, and you're never fully know a country. You fly into it, and you kind of first time you see a country and first time you see something, it's it really just kind of makes it a lot easier because you're not in this scary place that you think you might have been. And
I think that's like sort of like a life lesson that I've taken from this trip is I'm definitely more of the planner, and I love the.
Sorry.
No, you're totally fine. I'm definitely more of the planner, and I kind of love the routine of normal life. Like it wasn't like I was itching to go do something else. Like we had a really wonderful life before this trip. But I think I've learned I can kind of do anything. And I don't mean that in, I'm better than anyone else kind of, but like anyone can kind of go do anything. Like it might not be, long-term travel for another family. It might be, a mom that wants to go back to university and get a degree, or, a dad that wants to, start a side gig because he's really passionate about something. Like it really is irrelevant what the thing is. We can do anything. Like we really have the capacity just as people to, if we want something, just to go do it, and fear doesn't need to be as big of an obstacle as we allow it to be.
And fear tends to usually be something that happens only because you're not taking that step, right? Like if you can have
Absolutely.
that fear, and the longer that you just kind of have the fear and like too afraid to step forward, the bigger that fear gets. But it's only when you step forward and you actually like just kind of try a little bit that you realize, okay, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Totally.
Yeah. I didn't die.
I think being scared is like a learned thing, like you were saying, when the adults at your camp at school scream because there's a bug or a lizard, that was something they learned. The kids don't do that. That's something they've learned, right? They've learned to be afraid of that. And I think that's the same with risk in life. We've learned to be hesitant around that. Whereas, why not? Why not do the things that make you excited about life?
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better. So what do you hope your kids will learn from traveling?
I hope that they learn how incredible the world is, that how big it is, but at the same time, how alike we all really are. We have seen families and children and people from all over the world, from all different backgrounds, all different cultures, all different, social, economic situations. But we've been able to relate to all of them. You know what I mean? Like our kids play with any kid they find at the park, and, we can, have conversations and interact. And I hope that they recognize how, even though our worlds all look so different, how similar we really are. And that's kind of an empowering way to live your life, knowing that there's this, like, humankind is this sort of just this unit, and we're, I don't know, just to have empathy and compassion for one another, and we're more similar than we are different.
Agreed.
Yeah. What do I want the kids? I think it's important for the kids to realize that what they have done back home, and there's more out there, right? There's more to challenge yourself with in terms of we have wear different clothes than cultures and other people. There's different religions, all these different things that are out there, and it's the world's so big, and so there's so much to it to learn and to grow with. I think that's what I want them to get out of it.
Yeah. Those are really deep, meaningful things. What does traveling with your family mean to you?
I think every day it's a little bit different with that question, because there's some days where, to me, traveling is to go out and learn of the new culture and to learn of the people of this country and why they do what they do from kind of more of a historical, cultural sense. And so those are days where kind of we're learning about different people. And then there's some days when we just decide to slow it down and just be at a park playing with our family and growing as like a family unit. And so, to me, traveling, there's a lot with traveling and what we learn and what we do. And I don't know. I think that's I think that's a big part of it.
I think that second half for me is sort of the biggest, is just the time we have together. That's pretty irreplaceable. Like, our kids are growing up fast. Our oldest are in school full time and they have activities, and our lives are really busy. Like, there's no way in any other situation we would have had this much quality time with our kids. It's just not feasible. And I think that's been something that has been precious for our relationships with them, but also with their relationships with each other. Your siblings are the only people who have, more or less all the same memories as you, right? You'll never have that with friends or with anyone else. And so I think it's been great. They'll always have, this time of their life that's really unifying for them. And I think that's really, really special.
That's true, because a lot of people are worried about, what happens as they get older, and siblings tend to drift apart sometimes. But having these unifying experiences so young will help them to always have that bond, right? Like, to always be able to come back to this basic history, I guess you could say.
For
sure.
So I guess we kind of did this, but just to reiterate, what is one piece of advice to families looking to travel more?
Pack light. Take so much less than you think you need, because it is a pain in the butt to haul suitcases anywhere. Pack light. You need less. But kind of on like a more serious note, advice for any families wanting to travel. Just do it, and don't show your kids that it's hard and uncomfortable. Like, I think if you just kind of suck it up and do it, I think that expression, kind of fake it till you make it. Like, there's going to be hard days, but you just sort of, I don't know, tighten up your boots and you give it your best, because every time you do it will be easier. Every time we have a transition day and we go to a new country or a new hotel or a new city, we can pack up faster and we can do that transition. And so, whether it's full time or whether it's, a bunch of weekend trips that you're working on, that you're doing as a family, every time you do it, it will get smoother. You'll get better at, talking to people at information centers and finding good restaurant. Like, every time you do it, you'll get better at it. So the first time is going to be really maybe ugly and messy, and it'll be lots of tantrums, but every time we'll get better.
So don't give up the first few times.
Don't give up.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, and sort of like, I was thinking, whether you're traveling or you're home, especially with like a toddler, you worry about all the same things. Whether they're going to sleep well, whether they're going to eat, whether they're going to, have a tantrum in a public place, whether, all the things you worry about, they're gonna exist whether you're traveling or whether you're at home. And so why not go experience something really cool in the world while you're worrying about those things? They're not magical concerns to traveling. They happen all the time. So.
Very true. Todd, anything to add? Or she covered it all?
And she covered it all. I think just, that Nike just do it. And again, we always don't know what we're doing tomorrow, and or where we're staying or things like that. But every day's an adventure, and we learn a little bit more about ourselves, and our kids are able to learn a little bit more about themselves, and just getting it done and doing it is kind of that key thing. Because I think a lot of people are kind of the paralysis by analysis. They don't think that they're ready. They don't think that they can get prepared enough. They don't. There's all these reasons to not do it. But if you're going to do it, just do it. Book a time to have a date in mind and set it and just get it done.
That's great advice. Love that. So where can people connect with you or find out more about you guys?
For sure. Probably our Instagram page. We have, we're at Our Squad Abroad is our Instagram handle, but we're learning social media. We're still learning it, but I think that's all.
You guys have an amazing Instagram. I don't know what you're learning about, but I'm learning from you guys.
Yeah.
It's fun. When we first started our social media thing back home, everyone, was so curious on kind of keeping up with us and our adventures, and it was really for them. It was for family and friends back home. Yeah, so this has been like our journal, and it's really been a lot of fun keeping connected with our family and friends. But it's been really neat as well to connect with people like yourself, and we ran into a family that just out of nowhere, she came up to us and she's like, "Hey, you guys are you're Ashley." So she had seen us on social media, and we had been following them, but we weren't planning a meetup, and all of a sudden we hung out for the day with them, and so it's really good to stay connected and get connected with other people. And it's also really fun for the social media to go through the pictures with our kids and like, "Hey, do you guys remember this?" And we'll oftentimes, if we're sitting on a train or things like that, we'll just pull it open and be able to look at old pictures and old memories from that. So it's been a lot of fun for us on the social media aspect.
But yeah, long story short, you can find us on Instagram. Yeah.
You guys should look into chat books. I think that's what it's called, chat books. Basically, you can connect your Instagram, and they will just print out little books for you of all your Instagram photos. So when you get back, just do that.
Yeah, and it's kind of connecting with it. If people ever have questions, we get tons of questions, like direct messages, and we love to help, and if we can kind of urge people to do things or not
point them in good directions.
Yeah. So definitely direct message us if you have questions.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, guys. I know it's actually been a little longer than usual, but it's been a lot of amazing information. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. And I know everyone's... Well, we've just got so many good stories to share, right? That's what it's all about, is sharing stories and just... There's this this connection that travelers have that people who don't travel just don't get. Like, we can just instantly bond because we all have that same kind of desire. We want to know more. Tell me more.
Yeah. That's so true. So true.
No, it's a lot of fun talking. So
thank you so much again.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode and being patient with me, my poor child who refused to sleep. We're all parents. These things happen. And we do our best to give you a nice, clean audio. But at the end of the day, we're traveling families. We are living in tiny spaces usually. And we have small children who refuse to cooperate. So it is what it is. Be sure to check out Todd and Ashley at Our Squad Abroad in the Instagram app. They have beautiful images and stories to tell. So check them out and let them know that you heard about them from the podcast. And remember to stick around. Tomorrow we'll have a brand new episode where we are going to meet the Drifty Vegetarians. That's right, the Drifty Vegetarians. This is a expat family living in the US who travel as much as they can with their 2 young children, and they're vegetarians, and they're trying to be more sustainable in their adventures. So they're going to give you lots of tips and advice and showcase some of the amazing things that they've done in their travels and give you some advice on how to do that as well. So be sure to check that out. Don't forget to go to the show notes. You can find the show notes at thisindulgentlife.com/7. Not only will you find the links to everything we talked about today, but you're going to find the information on how to enter our giveaway. And it is a great giveaway. So I really want you to have a chance to enter. All you really need to do is leave an honest review and rating in iTunes. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and then follow the rest of the directions so I know how to contact you if you win. It is a growing list of prizes, so make sure you check out the show notes and join us in the Facebook community so that I can talk to you more. I love Facebook groups because I really get to know people in them, and not only me, but other people can help each other out. So maybe you're really interested in sailing, but you have no clue where to get started. Join the group. I'm sure there's somebody in there that can help you out. Or if it's RVing, or how to maybe just take more trips on family holidays. Check out the group, get involved, and I will see you there. Thank you again so much, and until next time,